You know I've been around and doing it, but now it's my time to shine and start proving it. I'm losing it, I'm moving it. The city is where I'm made, Bostonian flow, I kick it a back day. Yeah, I got game, God in a fan way. We the city of the champs, every sport we play. Spit wetter than the harbor, yeah, I'm flowing like the Charles. I be speeding on this beat, call it Turnpike Miles. Yeah, it's Boo signing on, John to the Hancock, and I'm always key, I'm ready to unlock. I be doing big things.
Welcome back, everyone, to the newest edition of Once a Week. I'm Billy Janeludis, and guys, 2023 is well underway, and the beauty of that is that we have the first special guest interview for you today on Once a Week. Guys, he is Coach Mike Urso, who I had the privilege of meeting recently, and we connected instantaneously. He is a NLP and hypnosis coach, and he focuses on life transformation. And guys, just being able to talk to him once, my mind was blown because as much as the connection's there, the information, the knowledge is spreading just as much. So I wanted to bring him to you today to start this year again on the right foot. And if this is your first time here, guys, hit that subscribe button below. We are going on 6 years straight, never missing a Sunday of Once a Week to bring you the knowledge, the wisdom, and the action steps necessary to bring you to where you want to be in life. So guys, hit that subscribe button and don't miss a thing. But Mike, thank you for being here, brother.
Oh, thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Yeah, of course.
Looking forward to the conversation.
Yeah, right? And you bring so much to the table, like I said. But give us some background. How did you step into, one, the coaching game, but NLP and hypnosis? I love that. Being trained under Tony, NLP is such a key aspect. Neuro-linguistic programming, guys. But bringing that to clients and helping them with their mind is such a game changer. So how'd you step into that?
It goes back to getting a start in the fitness industry. So was doing fitness for, I still do, but about 13 years now.
Okay.
So 2010 was when I got my start in that. Worked as a coach. A lot of it was helping people on the physical side of things. Started to begin to see that there was more behind behind what meets the eye, right? Mm-hmm. What's controlling people's physical behaviors and their body? And it was everything up here. Yep. And so as I got deeper into it, I started to realize that clients weren't getting the type of results that I wanted outside of the gym. They were doing great when they were working out, but there was more. As a coach who wanted to help people on other areas of their life beyond just the four walls of the gym, where I knew I can have a greater impact and impact them, with their businesses, with their families, becoming better leaders, better husbands, better wives, etc. I knew I had to get up into here and start to understand how does the mind work. I've always been somebody who was really deep into understanding about my own betterment, my own self-development, what makes me tick, what makes things work. And so it had me dive a little bit deeper into the stuff that's below the surface, the belief systems, how people's personal identity, things like their value system, what is important to them. And so when I started to dig into that stuff, NLP is something I came across probably about 6 or 7 years ago. And it was this change work process where, not like therapy, where most of the focus was on talking problems out, revisiting old traumas, old emotional pain, trying to sort through it and understand the whys behind it. NLP was more about, what are the best therapists, what are the best, most successful people doing, and how can we model their behaviors, their habits, their belief systems, and then use that to be able to deliver that to a person who is struggling with some of those areas and running into roadblocks. And so from there, I went full on into NLP, discovered hypnosis through that, because they do go hand in hand quite a bit. They're both working with those deeper layers of the unconscious mind, which we can talk about as well.
Definitely.
And so from there, started studying that, started to integrate it with my personal training clients. And then I'd say about 4 or 5 years ago, I went all into more working with people of just in the mental performance mindset. So helping people through different stumbling blocks that they've gone through, themselves, and really working with the mind. And from there, when I looked at changing those deeper patterns with people, the identities, the beliefs, the values, and really connecting people and getting them more aligned with who they are as a person, the habits and behaviors start falling into place.
100%.
And now the changes just start to cascade through their entire life.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. And it's so true. You can see it in your own story, how it connects together. And 100% agree with you. The mind is such a key factor. And I have a very similar story too, where it started in the gym. As much as we help clients in so many different areas, I believe everyone comes into their own self-development, self-improvement somewhere, whether it's a body goal, a mind goal, or even a spiritual goal. So I look at them as levels, and everyone is so different where everyone's trying to grow one area, but when you can see how they all intertwine together, as you said, the behaviors start to fall in line, the habits fall in line, you're naturally growing to who you want to become. And then the next piece you said, having the roadmap or a role model or someone to look up to, which NLP kind of guides you and hypnosis guides you to, where we all have these role models in life that inspire us. We want to grow as they grew. We want to get a result as they got. But the beauty of that is they left behind steps. And if we can take those action steps they took, we can take behind the behaviors they changed for themselves, and then not necessarily do the same exact thing, but adapt it to us. And that's exactly what you bring to your clients, where it's like, all right, so you want to achieve this result in life. What do we need to do? Who already achieved that? How does that work for your life? And I think that's the true game changer, or the start of everything that someone wants to achieve in self-improvement or self-development.
Totally.
Right?
Yeah. And it's about creating, like you said, that roadmap.
Yep.
And I look at the roadmap like this. Everyone has like a starting point. In other words, what are you at right now? What's your, we'll call it the current state. Where are you at presently?
Right.
You may have some problems. You may have specific behaviors. You may have specific values and belief systems, whether limiting beliefs or empowering beliefs. We all have both of those, depending on the context. And then you have your let's say, call it the desired state, the place you want to go to. So present state, desired state's over here. Well, what connects those two? What gets you from where you are to the place you want to be is resources, right? The path of resources. And so what we're generally looking at least with the coaching that I do in NLP and hypnosis, is connecting people to resources, so that, like, what we try to find, what are the missing resources, and those resources come in modeling. Well, if this is the desired state, the desired place I want to land and I want to get to, what are the people who are already there doing? What is their mindset like? What are their habits and behaviors? And now how can I take a look at my current state and develop those resources that I need to connect me from my current state to my desired state? And that's a lot of the work that I do.
100%. And that, I love it, because that's the game changer work. Yeah. And one of the pieces that you've brought to the table with your content, and guys, I'm going to put all of his links at the end of this video so you can really dive into Mike's content, because there's gold on his Instagram and every other account he has. But one thing that sparked me is the idea of self-initiation, right? And it really falls in line with what we're saying right now with behaviors, action steps, habits that we need to form for ourselves. But with self-initiation, we need to understand that we can only control what we can control. And a lot of us are trying to achieve an external result. We want our life to look different. But the only way to change the external is to start with the internal, or what steps we can personally take to change our lives. So how do you help your clients with self-initiation and understanding this concept?
Well, that's it. And you said it. It's an inside-out job, always. It's it's a fun topic to talk about, because there is so much there. And so the question is, where do we start with clients?
Yeah.
Is that what you said?
How, if someone comes to you, how do you kind of take them through that process? So say someone's watching right now, and this idea of self-initiation, how can you take control of your life or truly change what you want to change? How do you start someone in that process?
So classic cause and effect, right, is a big part of this. We think about, we've heard that term victim status before, or victim mentality.
Right.
This and this has happened to me, right? This is happening to me, versus shifting to the cause side of things, right? So if you're at the effect side, it's kind of a powerless side, right? There's not a whole lot of wiggle room or even resources available there. But when you shift over to the cause side and say, how is this happening for me, right? Just taking a different, reframing your problem, for example, into, okay, what is here? What's the goal here? What's the lesson behind what this problem is showing me? What am I not seeing? And there's so many different forms of techniques and things you can go through with that. One of the ways I would look at it is this. If you are looking at something specific, right? Like, let's say we're out on a hunting adventure, and I'm looking for elk, and I have my binoculars, and I spot an elk over there. Okay, I have a very foveal vision. I'm a very focused vision on that target that I want to hit. The problem is there's threats around me, and if I only look through the binoculars, I don't see the potential bear or the mountain lion coming out of the corner of my eye unless I zoom out, or maybe even pop up into a tree so I can scan everything. And now I notice, oh, there's actually elk over there. There's elk over there too. There's elk over there too.
Right.
And by being able to zoom out, right, and create that 30,000 foot view, because the problem is when you're in your problem and you're stuck in your problem, you can't fight your way out of that because all you see is a bag, right, of this baggage that you're holding on to. So it's like, imagine you're holding a bag here in front of you, and Tony, talks about this perfectly. You can't see through that. It's not until you put down the bag and you step back and you're like, what am I looking at here? And how can I zoom out and create more of what we call peripheral vision? And reset and look at, okay, now look at all these opportunities for elk that were around me, to use that metaphor. You don't see those if you're stuck in the problem. Now with coaching, as you know, and I know, a lot of times clients get stuck in that problem. We give them that lens. We give them that ability to step back and say, okay, like, and it could be through metaphors, because the cool thing about the unconscious mind is it works in metaphors, right? And that's where our problem is. It's stuck in the unconscious mind. Think of it this way. A lot of people want to change. Let's say it's January right now. They want to start a new fitness routine, right? It's the first of the year, first week of the year. They want to get going. They've been slacking off all year. They want to start their resolution. Well, with that, guess what? We have to be able to, like you said, self-initiate it. We have to step back. We have to look at it and say, what do I have control over the situation? I may not have an hour, 3 times a week to work out, but it's all about establishing the habit and getting connected to that habit. So can I do a little bit? Can I do 15 minutes? Because it's more about, as James Clear says, if you read the book Atomic Habits, fantastic book when it comes to changing habits, is every time you take an action, it's a vote for the future self that you're trying to become. Right. And every time you take an action that is not moving towards your future self, you're not. And there's another saying I really love. I love quotes, by the way. The present version of you is already the past version of your future self. Right.
That's awesome.
So thinking about that, are you making investments into your future self by the present actions you're taking? Because the present version of who you are right now is already the past of this future self you're creating in your mind. So if we're not totally focused on, and this is probably the biggest crux of all of this, which is we need to focus not on what we don't want, which is the problem. And we have to move towards what do we want instead. If we can't even have, I had to give you a story. I had a client, and actually she just called me recently. I'll get to that. I stopped working with her around mid-pandemic, and she was somebody who always struggled with losing weight, wanted to lose about, I want to say somewhere around 40, 50 pounds, a significant amount of weight. And so I said to her, I was like, hey, Liz, what do you want? What's your goal right now? She's like, I don't want to look like this anymore. I'm sick and tired. I have no energy. I'm tired of how I am. And I'm like, cool. What do you want instead? I just don't want to look like this, she would say. And I said to her, Liz, the reason you don't have it is because you can't create a vision of what it is you actually want instead. Have you pictured yourself with 50 pounds less and seen what that's like? And thought about how that changes your energy level and the things you'd be able to do and the confidence you'd have and how it would cascade into your kids and how you parent and how you show up as a leader at work. And she's like, I haven't. And I was like, we have to focus on that. Fast forward, she texts me just a couple weeks ago, actually. Sends me a picture. She's like, look at me. She's lost 50 plus pounds. She looks thin, and she's all about, it's all about the conversations we've had, around this so many times about really focusing on what it is I want and stop avoiding the stuff that I don't want and moving towards the things that I do want and the habits that are going to get me there.
I love that. 100%. I love everything you said. That's all results. And people take that and run with it. Whether it's self-initiation or the concept you just explained, even the elk, I believe, connecting that to you right now, a lot of us, when we have a problem or there's a part of us that we don't like, we put a magnifying glass on it. And we are focused 100% on whatever that magnifying glass is on. And as Mike just explained, if you can just change your perspective, as we like to always bring to you once a week, take a step back, take 30 steps back, and just see everything else around you. Rather than that one problem you're focused on that you don't like about yourself, what are the other 20 things that you do like about yourself? And when you can expand that, as Mike just explained with his client, where you start to see, wait, I bring a lot more to the table. There's a lot more to me that can help me achieve my goal than the one thing that I'm upset about. And rather than focusing on the problem, you find the solution. And I'll connect that together. Something on your Instagram account again that sparked me is a quote, and it said, you know, a problem always has a solution. And so if we can, and I think that it's the simplest quote, but if you really think about it, if you have a problem right now, there's a solution to it, or it wouldn't be called a problem, right? I want you to build on that, because I love that.
Yeah. Calling something a problem assumes that there must be a solution for it.
Yep.
Right? Otherwise, it wouldn't be a problem.
Yeah.
Right? It would just be a situation or a circumstance.
Yeah.
And so with that, you like you said, the ability to zoom out is really important here. One of the techniques that I find really, really helps with this and being able to not only see the problem, but like talk about what we said earlier, which is find the necessary resources to get where you want. Well, how do you find those resources? One of the best ways to do that is to zoom out. In NLP, we call that disassociation. So, for example, when we're in a specific emotional state, and because really, what's the thing that's stopping us from moving forward? It's not necessarily that we don't know what. Most people know what to do, right? There's just something blocking them. Maybe it's feelings of inadequacy. It's feelings of I'm not good enough. There's some sort of restriction or limitation there that's holding them back. Well, when you're holding on to that all the time, you're associated into the problem. You feel the emotions. You experience emotions because you're experiencing these things happening to you. When you can imagine what we call disassociation, imagine, and this is what I'll have people do, using the power of the mind, I'll have them actually imagine floating out of their body.
Nice.
And seeing themselves in the problem. So imagine yourself over there going through that problem. Describe yourself. What do you notice about yourself from this vantage point that you can't see when you're in it? And what they always say is, oh, I notice I look unhappy, or my posture's slouched over. I seem irritated or anxious. And so from there, I was like, I'll say to them, great, now you have the opportunity to see it from here. How would you change? How if you were to look over at yourself and coach yourself through that process? Give yourself, what resources do you think you need from where you see it over here? Well, first of all, and it's all about changing state. So I need to direct that person to, first of all, stand up straight, take some nice deep breaths, look focused, and really help them build the state. Because it's all internal. The thing is they're doing all this in their mind. And so after we build the resources from that disassociated standpoint, I want to ask them, hey, float back into that person now who's in that problem with all those new resources and re-experience that problem with all those new resources. And guess what? Boom, there's the insight just starts to pop in. You can see them light up, their whole physiology changes because our physiology follows whatever state we're in.
Yes, exactly.
So we're calibrating for that. We're looking for that. And when I see that, right, I know that they've gotten the insights and the resources. And the cool part is at the end of it, when you say to somebody, guess what? You didn't actually float out of your body. This was all in your mind. But the fact that you have all the resources now means they were there the entire time. You just weren't accessing them. And we gave you access by disassociating. So for anybody who struggles with that problem, being able to disassociate and again, look at yourself and how you are in that problem, and then just say, if I was to coach myself, what would I do? How would I have him act? How would I have he or she feel? Right? And so that's a basic process for how somebody can kind of get through that with very specific technique.
That's awesome. And I love the empowering questions that you bring to your clients. Like, if you're coaching yourself, what would you have you do? And people don't think like that because, okay, well, if I'm out of this state, how could I help myself get out of it? And one thing that I like to bring to my clients that you pretty much touched on, and it's a little bit deeper into the emotional stage, is the emotional guidance scale. So the state that we're in, say someone has a problem right now and you're fighting depression, or you're in a depressed state and you're trying to grow out of it, elevate yourself out of it. Depression is a very lower level emotion. We feel the negativity, it pulls us down. As you mentioned, the states that we're in our body, we could be hunched over. If I told you to imagine a depression person right now, you could imagine what they would look like. Hunched over, they don't want to pick their head up. So the state they're in is connected to that emotion. But if I asked you, what would happen if you experienced joy? What would that look like? You naturally rise higher up the emotional guidance scale to feel joy, which is great, but also think in a joyful state. So as Mike just described, if you ask the question, how do you coach yourself through this? And you have to think in a different perspective. You naturally rise higher up the scale to a more, we'll say, positive state, enlightened state, insightful state, to help yourself in your body. You're not floating anymore, you're back here, as he said. to guide yourself through the steps to get out of that depressed state. So it's very deep. However, the power is literally right here. And then connected back to you, the unconscious mind. You call yourself the unconscious coach because you guide people through, really to tap into their unconscious mind where all the answers are. I believe the insights are there. Tell us a little bit more on that, because you help people truly optimize their potential to take action from that state and bring it back to their conscious self where we are now and realize, oh, that's the step I need to take to get out of this state or to achieve the result I'm looking for. Tell us a little bit more about the unconscious mind.
So the conscious mind is something that is like we have a limited amount of focus. Let's call it a spotlight. We have a spotlight of where our attention can be at all times. Right now I'm here talking with you.
Yep.
As we're sitting here talking to each other, there's a whole bunch of other stuff that our unconscious mind is picking up. If we wanted to focus on it, we can hear the traffic near the road behind us, right? If we wanted to, if I said, all right, imagine now thinking about the temperature of the air on your skin, right? Weren't conscious of it, but now you are. Our unconscious mind is constantly picking up all and recording everything that's going on around us. Here's a perfect example. When we're driving, and let's say most of us take the same routes to work or to the grocery store, to wherever we're going, our focus is not so much on the drive. Our mind can wander into all these other creative ideas, and sometimes we're thinking about something completely different than something that's very dangerous, like driving. But because we've done it so many times, our brain has just kind of recorded and programmed that process so that we can drive unconsciously. I've gotten places, right? And I'm saying this is stone cold sober.
Not knowing.
And I'm like, how did I even get here? I don't even remember the drive. Right? Because I've done it so many times. And it's scary. But it's also comforting knowing the power that the unconscious mind has. It's been said that the unconscious mind controls somewhere around 95% of our thoughts, actions, behaviors, right? And if you think about like how the mind so from an NLP standpoint, we have something called the communication model. And we know that we're bringing in information through our five senses all the time. That is how we experience the world, right? You're hearing me, you're these are just sounds. But because we speak the same language, you're interpreting these things, you're creating meaning and reasons out of them, and you're able to understand, we're able to have a dialogue and actually communicate, right? If I was speaking to you in a different language that you didn't understand, I could even be insulting you, you wouldn't even know the difference, right? So interpretation and perception is everything. But we're taking these information, all this data in from our five senses. Even right now, millions and millions of bit of information is coming in for all of us at every single second. The conscious mind is about 126 bits per second is what we take in. Unconsciously, we're taking in upwards of 7 million bits of information per second or more. Think about the discrepancy between those two, right? So this is why when someone says, I'm struggling losing weight or I'm struggling to eat healthier, I know what I need to do, but I can't change it, right? I can't stop myself from doing it. It's not a conscious problem, because if it was a conscious problem, they would just say, I'm just going to stop doing it, and they would change. But because it's rooted and seated in the unconscious, because the brain wants efficiency, change is hard. The brain is one of the most least efficient energy sources in our body. It's could be using anywhere from 20 to 25% of our calories and our energy at any point in time, right? Just the brain, this little organ in our body. And so because of that, it basically puts things to reflexive behavior, right? For efficiency, so it doesn't have to burn as much energy. This is why when you go to a seminar or somewhere and you're trying to learn something brand new, a new skill, it's almost exhausting at the end of the day. Like you just get tired because your brain is working so hard to learn new information. It's kind of clunky. It's like when you play a sport or you do something for the first time, you're not really good until you do it a bunch of times, right? And that's conditioning it into the unconscious mind. Tying your shoelaces is a great example. Did you think about tying your shoelaces and how you did it this morning? Probably not. You've probably done it thousands upon thousands of times your entire life. It's a reflexive behavior that we don't think about. But if you actually break down the behavior of tying your shoes, it's pretty complex. Even walking is pretty complex. The arms swinging in opposite directions, the rotation of the spine, all these different things. It's happening unconscious. So when we know our habits and behaviors are stuck in this unconscious place, we can become conscious of them first, right? There's a change process, right? Where it's, unconscious incompetence. We don't know that we're doing something wrong.
Right.
Right? We don't even know. Then we become conscious
Yep.
of the incompetence.
Yeah.
So now we're aware that we're doing something wrong. It leaves us some room to change it. Now it becomes conscious competence. We change to, well, what do I have to do in order to correct this behavior, this habit, this thought process? And then once we consciously are competent at it for long enough and repeat that, whatever that habit or behavior we're trying to develop is, it becomes unconsciously competent, meaning you're not even thinking about it, you're just tying your shoes.
100%.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's, again, a lot of the process that I think is extremely important for people to understand, which is the unconscious mind is such a powerful root of all of that. And once we can go into it, and that's what hypnosis does a lot.
Exactly.
It helps kind of what we call shut down that default mode network and allow us to kind of go a little bit lower beneath the surface and go into where those unconscious habits, behaviors are kind of rooted in, change them. And then that's where, taking action comes into place as we start to facilitate that behavior repeatedly. We develop new behaviors. Those new behaviors become habits. Those new habits become our new unconscious way of doing things. And that's how change happens.
100%, right? And it's beauty too, because change can happen in a moment.
Instantly.
Getting you to that step to take it. And I have
threshold.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
I've got clients that come in and, their goal could be something as I want to live a more positive lifestyle. So we bring them to the point of like, all right, what's your self-talk? And honestly, like a lot of the world has a very negative self-talk aspect. But to help someone start to change that, it feels so weird because you just went over the entire process for it. We're not used to it, but we're so used to the habit, the behavior, the pattern of just negativity. So to have someone step into that, like, hey, I need you to speak about yourself positively or whatever the step becomes. Yes, you're hitting wall after wall to start, but then you're like, oh my goodness, I'm doing it. And then they start to see that positivity change in themselves. Again, what we said earlier, changes the internal. Then they start to see the external start to change because of it, because you start to walk in this positivity. At that point, life changes already occurred because it started in the internal. Bring it back to self-initiation, what we said to you guys earlier in this video. But it's so powerful, the unconscious mind. And I love that you brought in the hypnosis aspect to it, because that is such a key part that I think, people use it in therapy, people use it in coaching. Some people have never stepped into that realm before. But it's so key to help us truly understand what is going on in our minds. And I in my seminars, I always teach people that the mind is the universal tool. It can do anything, it can create anything, it can give you any answer because it's a supercomputer. It's just like Google. If I go on Google and ask a random question, it will find a way to give me an answer. Might not be right, but it will give me an answer. The mind seeks every question out and tries to give you an answer. So if we ask the right questions, as you mentioned, there's a problem for everything, but there's a solution for every problem. So if we start asking the right questions to what the problem is, our mind dives in and tries to find the answer. But then if our unconscious, connecting it to hypnosis now and everything, starts to really see things in this positive light and starts to help us unravel this, we get to our answer that much quicker. But it's this, and I say this to you guys right now because I know it comes off like this deep, deep concept, but it's one step after another. And this is constantly, whether you know it or not, unconsciously we'll say, is going on in your mind 100% of the time. But now that we bring it to you and we shine a little bit of light on the situation, run with it. Because who knows what you could step into after this video is done that allows you to really research some deeper concepts that help you with the problem that you might be experiencing, or help you with the result that you're seeking in your life. These deeper concepts that Mike and myself love to bring to people really shine light on us creating the life change that we seek. Whether that external change we said earlier in this video with self-initiation is drastically changing your life and bringing your dreams into reality, which is 100% possible, or it's something really small that you want to change. These deeper concepts that Mike and I are bringing to you right now help you understand that on a deeper level, where it's like, oh my goodness, this isn't as difficult as I once thought it was. It's actually easy when I really start to wrap my mind around it. But it's on you to research it and wrap your mind around it. Hence what we just said, that's where the action comes into play. But it's so key. So now bring it back to you, Mike. Transformation, hypnosis, NLP. Give us a success story that you've seen from your clients. You just mentioned the woman that lost all the weight, and I love that. That's a massive success story. Or even your own personal success story that helped you really kind of see this stuff works for you. Because a lot of people think that us as coaches or us as speakers, whatever it is, we can just teach this stuff, but we can only teach it because we walked it ourselves. So is there anything in your story that you are willing to share with us that kind of sparked you onto this path for yourself? So you mentioned you started in fitness, but what started you to want to help people? We'll say that.
Yeah, well, so I think it goes back to a lot of the insecurities and challenges that I struggled with early in life,
Right.
which was I was really a shy kid. I was really introverted. I was really somebody who developed a lot of things going through my parents' divorce and taking on a lot of what I felt was I must not be good enough because my parents don't want to be together, and so there must be something that I've done wrong. And I, as a kid, we don't know any better.
Right. Yeah.
We don't have the experience of the world to, and the experience of like life at that point in time to say this actually doesn't have anything to do with me. This is their thing that they're trying to sort out. That they're actually going to be happier not being together. Me thinking I'm looking around, all parents should stay together because, that's how people are happy. But the reality is like I took a lot on that myself. And because of that, I developed a lot of insecurities and things even into my adult life that I didn't have the resources at the time to be able to sort through those. And so I carried those into the fitness world when I started on my journey in my 20s. And so from there, I realized things like I have trouble in the gym going up to somebody and talking to them just about my services, and I know I can help them. I'm really good at what I do, but I struggle to even ask.
I get that,
And so there was a lot of that. And I think through understanding, again, some of these concepts I learned through NLP, through hypnosis, how the unconscious mind holds these patterns, within you and emotionally holds you back until you go in and access them and try to change them. I didn't know that. I didn't have those tools. And when I got those tools, it changed everything. When I remember I worked in New York City for Equinox, and from there I was super shy. But because I started to find some of these concepts and pull back the layer and start to look at life differently and see that the way I am is my old programming, and I started to change some of these patterns. It's amazing. I became the number 3 ranked trainer at my gym in New York City out of 45 other trainers, which was a big deal because New York is a highly competitive area. I realized when I lived there that the best of the best in all their small towns around the rest of the country and world, they go to New York because that's where the greatest opportunities are a lot of times to get into Broadway, to get a great job no matter what industry you're in, right? It's just the best of the best are there. And so to be able to accomplish that was great. It showed me that a lot of the stuff that I do, a lot of the concepts that I do now, they're super important for helping people transform their life. I do interviews like this. I post content almost every single day on Instagram. I'm not afraid to talk to cameras anymore. A lot of that has shifted because I use a lot of these techniques. I stopped thinking about what it is that was going wrong, how I didn't want to be. And I said, what do I want? What is the purpose? How is me imagining and acting as if I was this person who has valuable information, who can help people build skills around betterment and self-improvement. And when I headed down that path, and again, feedback helps. People start, telling you, oh man, this really helped me, or this or that, and you get testimonials from clients who, in the beginning, you don't think you're doing good work with them, and then all of a sudden, 5 months later, they're like, hey, you remember that one conversation we had? That changed everything for me. You know what I mean? And my life feels so different from that. And you just don't know sometimes. I got really attached to trying to seek validation from my clients' results for a long time. And it was holding me back, I would say, because I thought to myself, well, if they're not getting this massive transformation and having this breakthrough, then I mustn't have done a good job. But I will say it like this: a good plastic surgeon, right? When they go in and they make an alteration on someone, when they're done and that person's recovered, there's no scars that are even left from a good plastic surgeon. You can't even tell that they went in and did the work. And so that's the way I see what good coaching is and good help is when you can help somebody at that deep of a level, they think they've just been that way the entire time. And so nothing feels different to them. They've just transformed because their identity's changed. This is who I am now, is what you'll hear.
I love that.
And, it's almost like, oh, I totally forgot I was like that way 6 months ago because I've just been, this is just who I thought I am, you know? And so that's the beautiful power of coaching, self-coaching, as we've talked about, being able to reflect and look and ask yourself the right questions. It's such a rewarding, beautiful process. You can see how I light up when I
Yeah,
talk
right,
about
exactly.
it. It's super meaningful to me because I know the type of work that can really help transform people's lives. And I've seen it over and over countless times. I work with smoking cessation clients now. And that's one of the greatest gifts too, is that when you help somebody quit smoking, it's like an instant upgrade on your health. Instant. You instantly are going to be healthier the 100%. Moment you stop smoking. Yeah. And it's not dangerous to do. Whereas like drinking, people, I don't work with those types of clients because there's liability with that. People can actually, die if they stop cold turkey drinking if they've had a problem with it. So things like that are different. I have the other resources and therapists I can refer out to that. But things like smoking or bad habits that we know are damaging to people's health. Yeah. When people change those, it's almost like you give them an instant gift of health, of just self-esteem, more alignment with who they want to be, right? And so a lot of that's mapping that out and understanding, again, it goes back to the very beginning. What do you want? If you don't know what you want, that's where you have to start. And it's always, like we said, two things: self-initiated. What do I have control over with this thing that I want, right? If it's my boss, I want my boss to be nicer to me. It's not waiting for my boss and being at the effect side. My boss did this and now I feel this way. It's, how can I change my communication, my habits, my way of communicating with them to change their behavior and how they approach me? Right. And so that's where we focus. It's got to be self-initiated. It has to be stated in the positive. Yeah. Right. Exactly. Don't think about a blue tree. You have to think about the blue tree in order to then stop thinking about it. Right. So it's a very inefficient way. Right. It's better to go right towards what it is you do want. And so that's what I love about this process is pointing people in that direction. And I think, man, we're going to help a lot of people with some of the stuff we said here. 100%. That's the beauty of it. We just went to so many different topics for people. Totally. Yeah, I was going to, you kind of just summed it up right there. I was going to ask you one last question of what's a lasting message you want to leave with people, but you pretty much just did it. That was it. 100%. And asking people, what do you want? And then, as we said, taking the steps there with what we just went over. But Mike, you bring so much to the table for people, and I love hearing where it started for you. As a kid who is dealing with his own insecurities to someone who realizes that you're taking these steps for yourself, so really honing in, and you're kind of stepping into your confidence, to then living in your confidence and just taking the steps necessary and helping people in whatever way it comes, to not judging yourself, to what their results look like, to more so being there when they need it and guiding them with what they need. I think that's the best thing a coach can do. And you bring that to the table. So, I'll ask you one last question where people can find you in a second. But guys, everything that we've gone over in this video, I don't know how long you've been talking, but I know there's so much power in every single segment we talk about. Whether it's the unconscious mind, whether it's NLP and the hypnosis aspect that Mike can step into with you, or it's just self-initiation, as Mike just summed up for us, but truly understanding, what are you in control of? What do you want, but not what don't you want? Being able to grasp that in your mind and realizing it starts with me. It starts with the internal to then change my external. Mike just gave us the example of the boss aspect. I want my boss to be nice to me, or however you look at that question. And then realizing, well, it starts with you. What steps can you take? How can you be grateful for the situation? How can you be nice to your boss? How can you initiate this change for yourself to then receive the change that you want to come into your life? Everything will start with you. As Mike said, what do you want? Mike, tell them, where can they find you? What's your Instagram? What's everything? What's your website? Yeah, it's pretty much Coach Mike Urso everywhere. So that's on Instagram. I'm on LinkedIn, on Facebook. Don't use Facebook as much. Mostly, primarily, Instagram is where you're going to find me. Okay. People can DM, check out the content there. Yeah. Always here to have a conversation if anyone wants to. Yeah, right? I love it. Guys, I'm going to put all of his links at the end of this video, right in the credits, so you know exactly where to find it. Also in the description, they're going to be right there for you. But guys, set up a call with him. As he said, he's always open for one. You're going to have that link for you. Talk to him. How can Mike help you? And think on that question. Find the answer. Find the solution. Every problem has a solution. What's the solution, right? We just gave it to you guys in all these different ways. But guys, I thank you so much for tuning in this week. Please like this message and hit the thumbs up button if you haven't already. And then share this message to someone who you feel could help. If there's a key part to this video that sparked you and then someone popped in your head, I believe wholeheartedly that is a clear-cut sign that that person needs what was on that video, what was at that moment. Send it to them so they can learn from this video just as much.
and you can help someone else and keep the domino effect going. And lastly, guys, if you haven't subscribed yet, please hit that subscribe button. As I said, we're coming at you every single week. We're going on year 6 of Once a Week, and there's no end in sight. So you got to get on board, because we're bringing something to you every single Sunday to help you out and help you move forward. But guys, to sum all this up, Mike, I thank you so much for being here.
Of course, man.
Impactful,
It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, impactful, empowering conversation, and I hope to have you back on here. Yeah,
Awesome. Will do.
Guys, have a good one. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Awesome, Mike.
You know I've been around and doing it, but now it's my time to shine and start proving it. I'm losing it, I'm moving it. The city is where I'm made, Bostonian flow, I kick it a back day. Yeah, I got game, God in a fan way. We the city of the champs, every sport we play. Spit wetter than the harbor, yeah, I'm flowing like the Charles. I be speeding on